for joining us. So it's exciting that we're able to present, I guess, the updated version of Tupaia for vector surveillance. So yeah, it's we've put in a lot of work. We've done got some feedback and some made some improvements to the system. So I'll be showing you those today. Um, so just an overview of the session. We'll first talk about what is Tupaia. Some of you already know, some of you may not know, but we'll just go over some background. Then we'll look at what vector-related data can be managed in Tupaia before moving on to a focus on the vector surveillance module, which really is the main emphasis of this presentation. We'll then do a live demo, so we'll actually collect some data. It'll be fake data, but it will be using the live system. So we'll be showing you how to do that, and then we'll take some questions at the end. So what is Tupaia? So it's basically a platform. It's a data aggregation platform. It analyzes data, it visualizes data, and importantly, it supports offline data collection. So you can be using your tablet or your mobile phone, and it can be offline, and you can collect data. And that data then syncs into reporting dashboards that have been created to receive that data. So once you get a data connection, that data will sync into the dashboards, and those dashboards will automatically update. So it makes reporting really easy to do. So you only have to enter the data once, and then the reports are available once that syncing process has happened. So it really makes data management much simpler than recording it by hand, data by hand, and then re-entering that data in a spreadsheet, for example. So it's web-based, Tupaia. So tupaia.org is the reporting website. There's permissions on different projects on that website. So there's a specific set of permissions for PacMOSSI users. Nobody else outside the PacMOSSI project can see the PacMOSSI data. And there's a wide variety of reporting formats. A major part is the map overlays. So we've got the maps. We can put pins on the maps, icons, colored dots, choropleth maps, as well as bubble maps. We've also got a range of graphs that can be produced and matrix tables. So sort of line listings or summaries in sort of table format, and we can actually color code cells within the matrix tables to make them easier to interpret. And all of those reports can be downloaded from the dashboards. So there's a download icon on each dashboard, and pressing that will just download the information, and you can usually save it as an Excel file or as a PNG sort of picture file. And way back, literally 10 years ago or 9 years ago, Tupaia was originally set up to allow countries to conduct assessments of their health facilities. So to literally go around to each health facility, capture the GPS location of that facility, record data about the facility, and that then fed into reporting dashboards. Now it's used for a lot of other purposes. So for hospital reporting, it can receive data from patient systems such as Tamanu, and reports can come through to Tupaia for mass drug administration campaigns, for handling disease surveillance, so what areas are diseases showing up in, and also vector surveillance is another use of Tupaia. So its components, there are sort of four key components of Tupaia. One is Tupaia MediTrack. So that's down on the left-hand side. So that's for mobile data collection. So you download that from the App Store. You have your login credentials, and you log into that app from your phone, and then you can collect data. You have access to a range of surveys within your project, and so you do that data collection through MediTrack. On the right-hand side, there's an app called Tupaia Data Track. So that's very similar to MediTrack. It's also for collecting data. It was developed sort of 2 years ago, primarily to allow desktop data collection. So you need an internet connection to use it, but you can there's a lot some additional features in data track over MediTrack that makes it some things like tasking and navigation of that app is it's a different way of navigating that app. There's also the admin panel, which so data collected in through either of the two collection apps flows into the admin panel. That's where data's managed. So that's where all those surveys responses come in. It's where surveys themselves are created and visualizations are created, and then which is all typically done by BES, but we can give people access to that admin panel in their specific project. And then all that data that flows into the admin panel flows up into the reporting dashboards on tupaia.org. And I should just mention that with DataTrack, while it has been a web-based desktop data collection tool, we are launching a mobile version of that tool very shortly. So it'll be a mobile tool that you'll be able to use offline. So watch out for that. Okay, so for vector-related data, what can be managed in Tupaia? So it's basically we've developed four, I guess we call them modules. So you can keep track of a variety of work, I guess, related to vector control and surveillance. So one of the modules is vector surveillance. I guess that's been around the longest, where you can map where and when and how mosquitoes are collected and record the type and number caught. Vector control, about insecticide spraying and larviciding. Where was it conducted? When was it conducted? What quantities were used? What types of larvicide or insecticide was used? Equipment management. So about a couple of years ago, we expanded into equipment management for Tonga and Samoa. Their ministries of health wanted an equipment management tool. So we've developed that, and some of the PacMOSSI countries or teams have now adopted that management tool or management module. And then there's also insecticide resistance testing. So you can record the key steps in the testing process and let Tupaia calculate the level of resistance after exposure to insecticide. So those are sort of the four modules. And I'll just briefly go into a little bit more detail on the vector control module. So we first developed this for Samoa, who wanted to track where they were spraying. I think it was the lead up to the CHOGM conference a few years ago. So they're doing a lot of spraying. They wanted to track that. So we developed some forms and some maps to show where their vector control work was being done. So you can register the GPS location of and record details about each vector control activity. You can view that on a map. And on the right-hand side, you can see this is a map of, I believe it's Kiribati, or is it Tuvalu? That you've got the sites that each green pin is where spraying occurred. And then you can also view data in tables that show details about each activity. There's a screenshot down there of one of the tables. Each line is an activity, the date and who conducted the activity, as well as where it was conducted. And there's also, you can view graphs on how much or how many activities occurred each month, for example. So Kiribati and Tuvalu have also started using the vector control module in addition to Samoa. Vector equipment management. So Tupaia asset management, it's been used in Fiji and Samoa. We sort of switch between asset and equipment management. We sort of use them interchangeably, those words. It allows you to register and label an item in the field and assigns it a unique number. And you can then label that asset or equipment with a label that includes a QR code and its ID. You can see that on the right-hand side, the VEC number there. You can stick the label on that asset, and then you're able to, when you want to record more information about that asset, say a repair or preventative maintenance, you can just scan that QR code and that brings in that ID, and then you can record further information. And all that data flows through into dashboards, map overlays, including an asset register. So that's a bit of detail on the asset management module. But in terms of vector surveillance, which is really, I guess, the focus of this session, so we've yeah, through over the last few months, we've put in a lot of effort to improve the vector surveillance module. There are a few tweaks to make, and we've done those. And those were a result of sort of feedback from Pacific Island countries. So, what is the vector surveillance module? It basically now reflects the key stages of mosquito sample collection in vector surveillance. So the catch phase, so when you're actually going out and catching mosquitoes. So we have a form for that. Then we have a form for collecting a trap. Now I understand not all trapping methods require that collection of a trap at a separate point in time, but some do, like the BG Sentinel, I understand. You collect it, a few days after you set the trap. So there's that collection phase, and then there's the identify stage where you're at the lab and you're identifying the mosquitoes that were caught in the sample. So there's a form for each of those stages in Tupaia, and those forms are linked together by a sample ID, which is critical, that can be carried across the three stages. So that sample ID is automatically generated at the catch stage. So when you fill in the catch form, at the end of that process, you submit it, an ID will be generated. That ID would need to be recorded with the physical sample and kept with the physical sample. Because when you then go and collect and identify that sample in separate forms, you will use that ID to make sure you're tracking the correct sample. So all those stages are linked together, and a lot of this can be done in the field in terms of data collection. So you can be using your mobile phone offline to record the catch and the collect information. And then once you're in the lab, there's a separate form for identifying the mosquitoes. And finally, all of that data flows through into the dashboards. Once there's data connection, the data syncs and the data appears in the dashboards. And I'll go into more detail about those dashboards, but you don't have to wait for the whole process to have finished. Each time you submit data and it syncs, that data will flow into the dashboards. One additional thing with the forms is the notion of field stations. So you don't necessarily need to have a field station registered into Tupaia to collect this data, but it's sort of we sort of set that as step 0 in this process. So what is a field station? It's a location that is routinely used to collect mosquitoes for vector surveillance purposes. So it needs a unique and meaningful name and a location as well as a habitat. So there's a form in Tupaia for recording this information. After being mapped in Tupaia, vector surveillance activity can be repeatedly recorded at the site, allowing analysis over time at the location. So in Tupaia, field location needs to be mapped before samples can be recorded at the location. So the idea is you'd create your field station in Tupaia. You'd physically be at that field station, and then you don't have to do that once for that field station. Then each time you catch mosquitoes at that field station, you would fill in separate forms and say you're collecting from that particular field station. Now, this will make more sense during the demo. It's a bit artificial at this stage. So we'll just go on briefly about reporting. So all the reporting dashboards are in tupaia.org. Each visualization updates automatically when new data is synced from the relevant survey. Visualizations include map overlays, bar charts, matrix tables, and they all can be downloaded. They also have interactive elements. So if you click on them, you might be able to adjust the date range or filter, type in a filter word for particular fields. And also within some of the tables, there's actually links. So you can click on a particular ID and it will take you through to a page specifically about that ID, for example, a field station or a sample. And then there's some of the reporting is right at the field station level. So you can drill into a particular field station and get data about summary data about that field station. All right. So now we're up to the live demo. I'll just pause there to set that up. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to take those as well.
I might just jump in quickly to ask people if their name's not visible on the participant list, if you could rename yourself with your name. Otherwise, I'm sending you messages to ask you your name. I'd like to know who we have here, that's all. Great to see a few more people joining. Any quick questions for Geoff before he jumps into his live demo? No. All right, take it away, Geoff. There will be time for questions at the end. So if you've got a burning question or one comes up for you during Geoff's demo, we should have some time at the end to discuss. So please feel free to jump in or ask anything. Nothing is a silly question. Thanks, Geoff.
Great. Thanks, Amanda. Can you see my mobile phone screen?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
perfect. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for confirming that. So I'll just show you some of the forms in Tupaia and also some of the dashboards. So I'm just going to open up the Tupaia MediTrack app. So you can install this from the Google Play Store and set it up from there. It's free. Um, So this is the welcome page in the survey app. So it's got your name, it's got your coconuts, number of coconuts, and as it says, each coconut represents a survey that you've submitted. So it's just a fun way of sort of tracking how many surveys you've submitted and number of pigs. One pig equals 100 coconuts. So if you submit 100 surveys, you'll get one pig. So that's just a little game we like to play. There's some recent activity here. It tells you about updates to Tupaia. But essentially, the main components of this app are the survey section and the explore data section. I'll just quickly go into the explore data section because you can do this your um, from your phone, or you can do this from a web browser on your laptop. But I'll just jump into the explore data. So I've just pressed that explore data button and it takes you across to the dashboards. Okay, so I'm just scrolling down here. This is, so I'm in the country of Demoland, which is a fake country that we use to do demonstrations. And it just gives you some of the summary information that I've collected for demonstration purposes in terms of number of field stations, number of samples registered, number of samples collected, number of samples analyzed. So those sort of, I guess, four stages that we spoke about earlier. There's also a graph showing the number of samples registered each month. So, so in March, 8 samples were registered, January 3, and then back. So just some basic information about what sort of activity has been conducted. There's also some summary information about the types of mosquitoes that have been identified and the numbers. So you can expand this particular chart, and it shows you how many anopheles have been caught, 139 out of 512, culex and 80s. So that just updates as new data is collected. So there's a range of information, some time series information as well, when the mosquitoes were caught, the number per month of different genuses as well. There's a lot more information here. I'll go into this into a bit more detail later when we look at it through the through an actual desktop or website. But just to let you know, this is there on mobile. There's also some maps there as well, which I'll go into a bit more detail as well. But for the moment, I'm going to jump across to back into the app, and we'll show you the surveys. So I've just got into the survey button. These are some of the modules or different folders in Tupaia MediTrack. We'll be focusing on the PacMOSSI vector surveillance folder. There's also vector control, insecticide resistance as well. So I just pressed the vector surveillance tab, and we've got those 4 surveys that reflect the stages in vector surveillance. We'll start with the map a field station form, which we've labeled step 0. So this is just a summary of the form, what a field station is and how to create a new field station. So to do that, we'll just skip to the next page. The first thing we need to do is select the province or island. We'll select North, and these are just made up provinces. So what we're doing here is setting up a field station. So I'm going to set it up at my house, just for, and I'm going to call it Geoff's house 111 High Street, Brunswick. So I'm creating a really detailed description or label for this field station, so we'll be able to identify it in the future. So I'll press the next page. The field station, the type of field station is a house. Next page. Now I'm going to capture the GPS location. I'll save that. GPS is working. You can add a photo. So I'm just adding a photo. And additional nose testing purposes. So now I'm at the end of the survey, and I will submit that survey. Press the submit button. It gives you a label. You could print that out, but we don't need to do that at this point in time. So we'll close that. So we've just created a field station. So now we can do as much vector surveillance at that field station as we want over time. So now the second step, or the first step to actually the surveillance process, is catching mosquitoes. So I'll press the catch mosquitoes button. This survey registers a sample of mosquitoes into Tupaia and assigns the sample an ID that could later be retrieved. So what we'll do is press next page, select the province. Now it should give us a list of field stations registered in that province. So there's the one we just created, Geoff's house, 111 High Street, Brunswick. I'll select that. Then we'll ask for the date trap was set, or for example, if this was sweep netting or another type of method, it would be the date that occurred. The time trap was set, say it's in the morning, 7 a.m. This can be a house inspection. The project code is an optional field, but we'll include that adult project. The location type is a house. Again, you can capture the specific GPS location of the trap as opposed to the field station. So it may be a big field station, it may be a big park or something, but you may set the trap in a particular corner of that park. So there we go. We're capturing that GPS location. Press save, GPS working, add a photo. So this is just a photo I grabbed from the internet recently. So there's the BG Sentinel trap is set at the site. Type of trap, target of trap, adult mosquitoes. Is it indoor or outdoor? We'll say outdoor. No lure. And there we're at the end of the survey. And there's that sample ID. So this is the critical number that will identify that sample. So you need to print that out or write it down and keep that with the sample. So I'm going to just submit that. And there's actually that label is produced that if you had a label printer, you could print that out and store it with the sample. And there we go. We've just earned a coconut because we submitted that survey. I'm going to download that just so I don't lose it. Could also share it. So um, one thing I haven't mentioned yet, that after submitting a survey, it's important, if you do have a data connection, it is important to do a manual sync. And that's just to make sure that data is being sent to the central server. So you can do a manual sync by pressing those two arrows and then pressing the manual sync button, and there it's happy. Last successful sync at 10:33. So okay, so we've set our trap, our BG Sentinel trap. Now we're going to go and collect that trap. So we're going to press the collect a trap form. There's the title. Go to next page. Now we'll see. We'll see if that sample's come through. I'll just do a bit more syncing to make sure that. Hmm. Okay, so you can now see at the top of that. So this is a list of all the sample IDs. This has been in the testing that I've been doing. So you can see at the top is the one that we just created. So that O 0XO da, 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 L, 6X. You can see the field station that it's been set at. I could also just scan that QR code on that label, the label that was produced, but we can just also just search. So I've just selected the correct sample ID, and now we just go through the steps. So there's very few with the collector trap form. So what was the trap type? What was the target of the trap? Then the date of collection. So we'll say this was done. Well, actually, I will say it's done today, and we'll say it was done in the evening, 6 p.m. Were any mosquitoes caught in the trap? So this is just a general indicator. It's not about the number yet. Were there any issues with the trap? Yes or no? We'll select no, and some comments. Okay. Oops. Oops. That wasn't very clean, but okay. So I'm going to submit that survey. Survey submitted, and when the sync occurs, you'll receive that coconut. If that hasn't occurred, just press the manual sync button and just to ensure that that data goes to the central server. Okay, so we've gone through 3 of the steps up to collect a trap. Now we're going to go to the lab. We've got our sample, we've taken it to the lab, and we're going to identify the mosquitoes. And I realize, yeah, we're running short on time here. So we'll just quickly go into the identify mosquitoes at lab form. We want to retrieve the correct sample ID, and that's sitting at the top very conveniently. So I'll select that. Tap the date of identification. So this is once you've identified those each mosquito. Were any mosquitoes present in the sample? If no, you can just complete the form. But if without any further details, if yes, a whole bunch of fields pop up. What's the target of the trap? Select the country of collection. For example, we'll select Fiji, for example. just for demonstration purposes. Then the genera and species of mosquitoes. So we'll say there's 80s were caught. If you press yes, then all different types of 80s are presented, and you can just tick the ones that are relevant and type in the number females and males. Um, you can, yeah, you don't have, yeah, you just select the relevant ones. Then Culex, we'll say one yes to Culex, 12 females and 8 males. Any other genera, we'll say no. Unidentified mosquitoes, no. Were samples stored? Where were samples stored? Freezer. Containers, say there's 2 containers. And were the samples forwarded to insecticide resistance or product efficacy by assays? So I'll say yes. Okay, now's the chance you can review the form. You can just skip back to different sections of the form just to make sure you're happy with all the information you collected. And then there's the submit step. So press the submit button. Because I've got a data connection, I get that coconut straight away, but I'll do a manual sync anyway. So there, that sort of completes the steps to create the field station, catch mosquitoes, collect the trap, and identify mosquitoes. So now I can show you the dashboard. So I'll just switch to a different screen here. Jump onto that one.
And just to jump in, essentially, once you've completed those forms in the field, presumably on your smartphone or your tablet, um, and then all you have to do is hit the little sync button at the top, the little circular button with the arrows when you're either having a data connection or Wi-Fi, and then it will automatically, basically in real time, display on the dashboard that Geoff's about to show. So sometimes we forget just to hit the sync button and we're like, oh, where's my data? You do need that data connection in between collecting the data and seeing the data. You don't
Mm.
need it to collect the data itself. It'll stay on that device until you sync. Is that right, Geoff?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're not going to lose the data. It'll sit on your device until it has synced, or still, yeah, synced up to the server and appears on the dashboard. So, yeah, that can be one issue that comes up is where's my data gone? I can't see it, and then we'll often advise you run a manual sync and wait a little bit, and then eventually it will appear. So, and I can monitor what. Through our admin panel, I can also monitor a little bit what's going on in terms of syncing, and we can also get our developers to look at if there is an issue. But typically, we don't have many issues with syncing. Um, Thanks, Amanda. So now I'll just jump into the dashboard. So this is the login page for tupaia.org. You can actually register for an account here. There's that register here button at the bottom. It's very small. Sorry about that. I don't know if it's gonna. I'll expand this. Yeah, so there's a register here button where you can fill in details, and then that request will come into BES, our support center, and we'll get asked for approval from Amanda and the country who's requested access. So that's one way of getting access. So, but I'm just going to log on via my own account. You can also reset your password, by the way. There's a forgot password button hidden there. Okay, so this is the dashboard I briefly showed you on the mobile device. You can see on the right hand, so I'll just zoom out a little bit. So on the right hand side are those sort of visuals of numbers of field stations, etc. And you can see that if you remember on the mobile device, it was 28 was the number of field stations. So now it's 29. So hopefully that's a result of the one I just created, unless somebody else has been creating them. So then the same visuals that I showed you before are here. But then there's these visuals that don't appear immediately. You've got to actually click into them to see the data. But that's because they are big tables. So here's what we call the field station navigator. If I click on that, um, this is a list of all the registered field stations and by name of field station in the province and when it was registered. And there's actually links in here. Each title here is a link, and if you click on that, that will take you to a page specifically about that field station. I won't do that yet. Similarly, the sample navigator here, all the list of all the sample IDs are here, as well as the field station. You can click on a sample ID, and that will take you to um, a page for about that sample specifically. And you can actually here you can see Geoff's house here, and that sample we just created is literally there. So, and I'm going to click on that. Well, no, I won't. I'll click on. If from this table, we'll just have a very quick look. We can jump to that field station page directly. And it's got the same set of visuals, but just for that field station. So number of field station, one, obviously. Number of samples is just one or 111. But if you collected more samples, did more testing at that field station, these would change. But there you've got those basic set of visuals available for the field station. So that was a slight diversion. I'll jump back up into the country level dashboard again. There's a bit of jumping around here, but just to scroll down, so we're back at the country level as opposed to the field station level. Here are the tables that are specific to each survey. So here's the survey responses for map a field station table is here, and it lists all, it's got all the fields from that survey. So it's got the field station ID, the province, the Tupaia reference, which is actually a automatically generated number, which you don't really need to know about. The date of survey, who submitted it, station details, GPS availability. So all those fields from that field station survey. Then there's a table for the collector trap form. So here you can see the the sample ID of the trap we collected. Actually, I think I've missed catch mosquitoes form. Anyway, there's the catch mosquitoes form down here, and it's got those fields from the catch mosquito form, and also, as well as the identify mosquitoes at lab form. So all that information is available that you collected. So here's the sample ID. You can each one of these boxes of filter. You can search if I just wanted to look at all the samples of adult mosquitoes. I could just type in adult and see that. But here's, yeah, all that information that we collected, GPS working, outdoor. And there's a lot of fields in the form that are actually hidden. So this literally displays all of the fields. We can create other tables that are specific to one part of the form as well, but this is literally the full form. You can also download any of these forms. So there's a download button up here on the right. So if I press that, it gives me the option of downloading an Excel format, which I'm doing. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see this, but can you see an Excel file, Amanda?
Yes, Ken. I
Cool.
can't read it. You'd need to
Yeah.
zoom in.
So basically, this is a copy of that matrix table. So it's got the field station ID, or sorry, the test ID, the province, date of survey, who surveyed. So all those fields are in an Excel file, all that data, so that you can then go on along and analyze that data in more detail if you want. If the data, if the summary data isn't sufficient, you can download the specific data that was collected. I'll just close out of that. What else? I guess the only other thing I wanted to show you was the maps. So I'll just minimize that section of the screen, and then I'm going to go. So I've actually been dropping, although we're in the country of demo land, I can actually drop pins in any country, and I happen to do it obviously where I am, literally in Melbourne. Um, so this is the map overlay. There's some controllers on the left-hand side here. If I click on vector surveillance, there's a few options. One is field station type of location. If I press that, it will show on the map um, each field station and the type of location. So yellow represents house. So if I click on that, that's literally where I am right now. That's what we just set up. Can zoom in. There's other ones that I've been playing around with. So Brunswick Park is another one. It's outdoor area. There's a different field station, Gilpin Park. So that's how you can see the field stations. You can see the trap locations as well. So there are more trap locations. So each trap has its own GPS location. You can click on individual points, and it tells you, the type of location as well as the date trap was set. You can also click on the See Dashboard button that will take you to the actual dashboard for that trap. I'll do that. And you can see the distribution of mosquitoes identified at that trap. And this, again, this is just fake data. So there's a lot of information on the maps. There's target of trap. So if we wanted to see, oops, yeah. So the target of the traps. Sorry, this is the type of trap that was set. So the yellow is BG Sentinel, and there's a map legend down here. Also, target of trap. If you wanted to just look at traps that focused on larval mosquitoes, you can deselect the other types, and then this is the only one that was set for larval mosquitoes. You can also look at the types of mosquitoes at each trap that were caught. So at this particular trap, eight Aedes aegypti mosquitoes were identified. So that's really an overview of what's in there. We can build lots of different visuals, and really, so I've built, the raw data as well as some summary data, but there's sort of an infinite number and type of visuals that we can build, and we're happy to do that depending on the needs of the users. So I'll stop sharing now, and that really concludes my section, and I'll throw it back to Amanda.
Thanks, Geoff. That was really great. A lot of stuff to take in though, so maybe people need some time to digest. I have one question I'd like to ask, but before I do, I'll just see if there anyone else that wants to ask something first. If so, you can just either raise your hand or just unmute and jump in. I'll give you a minute to think. The question, Tabo, is that you? Did you want to ask
Yes,
something?
yes, please, on Chef screen, there's Tupaia, the orange one and the blue one, right? That's a app.
Yes, yes.
What's the other app and the blue one?
Okay, I'll give that to you, Geoff.
I like that question
Sorry,
because the other one is the blue one is a app, the data track app. So that is the other data collection tool for Tupaia. So there's two. There's MediTrack and there's DataTrack. DataTrack, we're about to launch the mobile version of DataTrack, which you'll be able to use offline. So that has access to all the same surveys as MediTrack, and it's also got some additional functionality, like quick links to surveys you've recently submitted. And we're building a lot more into that app. And yeah, it's quite exciting that we'll be launching that in a few weeks' time, potentially 2 weeks' time. So yeah, that's the DataTrack app.
Okay, thank you, Chef. I just know the orange one with me. That's why I'm just asking.
You're very observant, and I'm glad you asked that question. So thank you.
Anyone else? I'm not sure if who is MK. I think you might have unmuted. did you want to ask something? Not sure who you are. We can't hear you. I think you're connecting, perhaps. While we wait, Geoff, I just wanted to ask, how easy is it to download those beautiful maps to put them in a report or the graphs? Because I'm imagining what the people might like to do, the field staff, is to obviously collect the data easily, visualize it immediately, and then quickly go either download or copy paste into the report to the supervisor or whoever. How easy is that?
Yep. So definitely can download the map overlays and any of the visuals into Pi. I can just show you briefly how to do that, Amanda. So if you're in a map overlay, which I'm just sharing now, so whatever you're seeing on the screen in terms of the mapping, you can download that. So if I wanted to say, I want all the locations of field stations, um, and you've got to decide what level of zoom you want to be in. There's a button here in the map controller. So up on the left, it's that arrow. If you press that, that can be exported as a PDF. So that's popped up there. So this is the PDF version of that map. So it's the same map. It's got the legend on it, and it's got the title of the map as well as the PacMOSSI icon. So those are the location of the field stations. And that's currently only that available in PDF format, but we are going to allow it to be produced in the PNG picture format. So that's something we're working on right now, and that was a specific request from the PacMOSSI project. So that will make it much easier, or an alternative format to paste pictures into reports from map overlays.
Okay, great. And did you already show how to download to Excel as well? I think you did, but just to remind people, I don't know if
Yep.
anyone wants to jump in with any other reporting needs they have. I'm imagining that's what people are going to want. I saw you open a table at some point and hit download, but
Yeah, exactly. So, and we can do that. So for graphs as well. So if I open a graph, I've got to click on it. Then there's that download button on the top right. So pressing the download button, you then have some options on what you want to be included in that. You can download just the Excel file of that data, or also the PNG image of of that visual. You can include labels, so it's got the numbers on each section. You
yes.
can export or not export the table, and then press the export button.
Great.
And yeah.
Has that got error bars on it? I can't see. What are those? Oh, it's numbers.
So
Okay.
yeah, so it's literally the numbers of each. Yeah, that's
The
the num.
totals.
Yeah, in each category here. So I guess it was 180s, 71 or 29 Kuleks and 71 Anaphiles.
Yeah, right. No, that's great. We've just got a question in the chat. Who are you, Environmental Health? I don't know where you're from, but this person is asking, is there a form we can use with features and variables corresponding to Tupaia? Do you mean a paper form or an electronic form? What do you mean? If you're able to unmute, um, Environmental Health, could you clarify what you mean?
If you look at the Tupaia chat. Okay, yeah. Kailangan Manda, it's Vinny.
Oh, hi,
Yeah, that's okay.
Vinay.
My team already answered my question. It's
Oh,
electronic form inside Tupaia. But I was thinking of a form that we can print out to
do,
enter, and then after that we enter into the Tupaia.
give that to you, Geoff.
Yeah, I mean, we have all the forms as sort of Excel files as well. So you can get access to the actual specific questions, sort of create your own forms. But yeah, typically we hope that people don't need to do that, that they can enter the data directly into the app by using the app. But yeah, we can certainly give the specific questions from the forms out in the separate format for sort of manual data collection if needed.
I'm curious if others would like to comment. I know that maybe for some people it seems like a lot to do direct data entry in the field on devices, maybe for different reasons. How many people feel like they need to do paper in the field and then enter it when they get back to the office? Uh, Anyone want to comment? Or do people really want to skip that step? Obviously, Vinay's team want to have a paper form as well. Do many other people want to have the paper form, or do you prefer to just do it straight in the field into your phone or tablet? Can I ask, I'm going to put you on the spot, Rama. Rama or perhaps Shonam, what's your thoughts on that? Paper in the field or straight to electronic?
Uh, well, thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Geoff, for the presentation. With our experience in Fiji, I'd say it's best to do online while you're out in the field. It takes a bit of time per premises because you have to put in all the information there and then. At the same time, if you have the hard copy, you can also keep it, but that's in case if you lose your data, something happens, then or the app stops working, then you can continue your survey with the hard copy as well. And if you say that you do paperwork in the field and then come back and do it in the office, I think it will be difficult to geocode those premises because you won't be plotting them. You'll be in the office and plotting, so it's difficult. That's the best option is you do it in the field to get the accurate data. And at the same time, if you want somebody else to go and revisit the premises, you may take photos and also upload it with that so that it's easy for them to identify which flat or which premises it is. That's the experience we had in Fiji.
Thank you so much, Rama.
Yeah.
I think Miliesi, you've unmuted. Maybe you'd like to comment on your experience. I think you were doing vector control data entry in the field when you had your spray activities recently. Was it easy to do in the field directly, or was it challenging? Miliesi, maybe your microphone's not working. We can't hear you. That's okay. Obviously, there's a range of experiences, and you have to choose what works best for you, noting that if you do use the paper form in the field, someone has to have time to go back and enter the data afterwards. And if you have a person that can do that, that's fine. But in a lot of the smaller programs, there's probably a risk that that data either gets lost, the paper form, or no one has time to enter it. I don't know. But really useful to have these discussions and to talk more about how we can make it work better. We might be able to discuss this more at the upcoming PacMOSSI annual meeting for those that are there. Or if others would like to have a more regular call for data management to discuss these issues, we could also organise that. Can I get maybe Rama, did you have... Oh, thanks, Miliesi. No,
Yeah,
no worries at all. Sorry,
sorry, I
Rama,
mean,
go ahead.
yeah, I believe the we all have been doing the paper work all the time, and now we are trying to move into the digital platform. I think it's best that we all try to move on with this digital platform recording of data and surveys, so that because if we keep that paper format ongoing, I believe we will be very reluctant. Some of them will be very reluctant to change their behavior and move on to the digital platform. So I believe we should make an effort and move on since the app has been created, and we move on with the digital platform so that we can have the data readily available and adapt to it, and empower the new staffs coming in to continue with the digital platform that is available, rather than sticking with that old system of hard copy, which is we can't get the data, real-time data as and when required. Thank you. That's just my opinion.
Thanks, Rama. I might put a call for final comments. I've seen Cassandra's asked a couple of very good questions in the app. Maybe, Geoff, can you quickly respond? Is there a standard template for the report? And how's the quality of the information checked or validated? Cassandra always asks excellent questions. Oh, a voice function. Okay, that's too many. We're a few minutes over time. If you can stay, if you can and would like to stay, we can stay on a little bit longer. Is that okay with you, Geoff, and answer a few more questions?
Yeah, sure. Yep.
But if people need to go, we'll be in touch again by email. We might schedule another call to have a discussion about some of these issues, particularly just like the workflow element, because it seems like that is an important aspect that we don't talk enough about. But any final comments before I might hand back to you, Geoff, if you want to answer Cassandra's questions. But first, anybody else that wants to jump in on this? All right, Geoff, back to you.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what you mean by a standard report that summarizes the information. So, I mean, basically, all the visuals that are created can be, downloaded and put into a report. Yeah, I'm not that. I guess that is the standard report, and we happy to create different types of visuals, and the idea is, I guess, to create that standard report through Tupaia. But it's a matter of knowing exactly what needs to go into that report. So that, yeah, and that's, I guess, a matter of consulting with individual countries. So we can definitely do that. I hope that sort of answers the question there. In terms of the quality of information, so we can give people access. So that raw data, I guess, is where the detailed information is available. So those raw data tables. So it's up to, I guess, individuals to monitor the quality of that data. Yeah, we can certainly support that. There is a way we can set up the ability to edit data, and that is actually one feature of Tupaia MediTrack, or Tupaia Data Track that we're developing, that ability to edit data that's already been submitted, and that obviously would be very carefully controlled. But if you're an individual who's submitted data, somebody would have the ability to edit that data with the appropriate permissions. In terms of voice function entering, not at the moment. I can certainly put that on our roadmap or the agenda for the future. We have a roadmap already of developments in Tupaia, and most of those focus on data track in terms of things like the ability to save a survey halfway through. And then be able to return to that survey and complete it at a later date. That's one of the new features that will be coming into data track later this year. But yeah, I'll certainly put that voice function. That'll be amazing. Translating, voice to text. But yeah, so thanks for those questions.
Sandra, she's an ideas woman.
Oh,
Always got great
I love it.
ideas
I
and
love it.
great questions. It would be nice and probably would be it would vary per country. You'd have to consult with each country, but to have to be able to hit a report like once a month that was what had been pre-agreed, the standard data would
Mm,
be perhaps nice
that
as
would.
well. Be interesting to chat more about with people. But there's one more question in the field from Derek from CNMI. So in the US APIs, they have their own data entry app already called PacServe. And Derek's asking, can you share data between Tupaia and PacServe?
Yeah. The overall answer, in principle, yes. Tupaia has an API which allows automatic sharing with different systems. So, and PacServe may probably has one of those APIs as well. So there is the ability to share data automatically across the systems. But yeah, that would need to be set up, and certainly permissions need to be established. But yeah, in theory, it's definitely possible with Tupaia.
So basically everything is customizable at the country level, isn't it, Geoff? So that if
Mhm.
teams from specific countries want to have Tupaia set up in a certain way with certain graphs or linked to their other systems, that can all be done. It just requires some direct interaction with your team. Would that be correct?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. If that sort of thing, yeah, customizing per country, and we have developed specific modules for say Fiji because they've wanted the larval surveillance module refined more, the vector asset management. So these things, yeah, we can. We're developing something general for everybody, but
Mm.
alongside that, we can have specific visuals or specific surveys for individual countries.
Great. So just for everyone who may not be aware on the call, as Geoff said, we through PacMOSSI and BES, we provide these sort of standard forms that we thought might be useful for everyone. And we've tested them in the field in a couple of countries and got some really good feedback from those teams. And we're always trying to refine and make them better. But if your team wants to work with us more closely, we can do a lot more customization. For example, Fiji have added a separate form for larval surveillance. That's not one of our standard forms. So at the moment, the countries that we've been working most closely with are Samoa, Fiji, Kiribati, Tuvalu, and more recently the Solomon Islands. So those countries have, lots of experience working with us to share. But if you're from another country or organization you'd really like to try using Tupaia, it's completely free. You just have to sign up, get your email access approved by Geoff and I, to make sure you're a real person working in vector control. And we're very happy to talk more. And we might even organize another one of these calls, I think, maybe in a few months to revisit this because there's obviously not been quite enough time for discussion. So I think we better finish up there. That's 10 minutes over time. I see your question, Lavinia. Yes, we've worked a lot with your team. If you can reach out to us separately from this chat, we can certainly talk about if you want additional forms or customizations. Absolutely. Let's schedule a call perhaps.
Mhm.
All right, I might finish up there by just saying a very big thank you to Geoff for your time this morning to show everybody these exciting new tools that we have available and answering all these questions. There's more questions coming through now. Geez.
I love these questions. Yeah, they're amazing. Yeah, we've got to
Yeah.
continue the discussion. Yeah, on a chat or something, I think, because it's great to have the questions.
Yeah, jump onto the PacMOSSI chat if you'd like, people, and ask all these questions if you would like to continue the conversation. Otherwise, we might have to take these offline. But thank you so much, everyone that took the time to show up today and contribute to the discussion and ask questions. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much and look forward to working more with you on this in future. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.